when I speak to uh, different pharmacy schools and medical schools around the country, I try to leave them with one thought in mind, that you're spending all of this time and effort to get all of this medical training. I said, did you ever stop to think that once you've acquired all of this prestigious training, what are you going to do with it? And they looked at me like, from Mars, what do you mean what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to go out and go to work. I said, yeah. I said, but you ever stop to think that you might want to consider using all of this to raise the quality of life and improve the quality of life of the people you are serving who need help? In other words, if you're going through training to become a medical practitioner, then when you come out of school, practice it. And when people come in with issues, problems that they haven't been able to get solved uh, in other areas, then I feel that it's your responsibility to use your training to solve their issues. And Lord knows that's what I have tried to do for the last 60 years.
Relax yourself now, be set plan. 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 Relax yourself now, be set plan.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian Terry Jr. I'm a senior here at Shorewood High School and the president of Youth Rising Up.
Hello, my name is JC Gray Hall. I'm also a senior at Shorewood High School and vice president of Youth Rising Up. We'd like to formally invite you, our virtual audience, to Shorewood Apollo Theater for this year's Black History Month program.
When we think of being Black, we think of creativity and resilience. For decades, there's been a place that embodies both of those words. It's been a home and safe space for Black artists going all the way back to the 1930s. That place is the Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York.
As much as we'd love to get back to our usual in-person performance, due to the state of the coronavirus pandemic, we're just not ready to do that yet. But as we discussed in last year's program, even though the thickest eras of adversity, we, African Americans, never lose the touch of our unity, resilience, and creativity.
For too long, many of our innovative and creative contributions have gone by unnoticed, uncredited, and silenced. But that all changes tonight. Tonight, we will uplift all of our voices and reclaim the ones that have been suppressed and unheard.
Tonight, we'll reflect and acknowledge our ancestors who paved the way for our lives right now.
And most importantly, tonight we are reclaiming control of the narrative. Our voices show that we are here and our beautiful Blackness is here to stay. Welcome to the Reclamation 2022.
They will hold us down with heavy hands in hopes that we will drown, so they can silence out our victories and take away our crowns. They will try to say what has been said and rewrite what has been written, so they can force us back into a state of great submission. They will try to change our history and then define our lives, so they can replace them with their careless, clueless, and empty lies. We will break apart their silence that they used to hold us down. Then we will rise above their power, standing tall beneath their crowns. We will write about our history, and we will write about our lives, taking back what has been stolen, and work to break apart their lies. This is our reclamation.
The phrase, "Black is beautiful," but few know about the person who helped make those words a part of our everyday lives. Kwame Brathwaite is a Brooklyn-based photographer and activist whose work spans across 7 different decades. Kwame has gone to the School of Industrial Arts and originally wanted to be a graphic designer, but after the murder of Emmett Till and the grip the pictures of Emmett's mutilated body had over the entire country, he realized photography was his calling. Kwame's camera followed the music. It was the late 50s and early 60s, and jazz was mainstream. He was also a bit of a musician himself, which made a perfect setting for photography. As a self-taught photographer, Kwame perfected a photo process technique unique to black skin, in order to highlight the beauty of the model's natural skin tone. Kwame and his brother were passionate about all the arts and started the African Jazz Society and Studios in 1956, a place for a wide variety of artists to congregate. In 1962, he formed the Grandassa Models, along with his brother Alombe, as a response to mainstream standards of beauty that excluded women of color. Grandassa's mission was to empower black people to truly embrace themselves by promoting African standards of beauty and culture through fashion and photography. On January 28, 1962, Grandassa Models held their first fashion show entitled Naturally 62. It was held in the Purple Manor nightclub in Harlem, New York. Slogans like "Buy Black, Think Black," and "Black is Beautiful" lived on flyers promoting the show and helped create a sense of racial pride within the black communities of New York. The show was an instant success, so much so that an encore show had been done that very night. Naturally, fashion shows would go on to be annual events in New York and soon spread to other black theaters, nightclubs, and universities across the country. By the 1970s, Kwame had become one of the top concert photographers of his day. These photographs helped define the early careers of budding black superstars like James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley, and Muhammad Ali. Many haven't been seen by the public yet. Over the years, Kwame has been featured in various magazines and publications, and recently at the Art Institute of Chicago, our very own art museum also had an exhibit showcasing the fashion aspect of Kwame's work. Mr. Brathwaite's popularity is astounding because of the fact that most of his work was made about half a decade ago. Luckily, Kwame started a family to carry on his legacy. Kwame continues to work and live in New York with his wife Sikolo, who is one of the first Grandasa models, while their son, Kwame Jr., continues to carry on the legacy of his father.
Why are you here today?
Darling, I want my gay rights now. I think it's about time the gay brothers and sisters got their rights, and especially the women.
Marsha P. Johnson was a trailblazer in her own right. She was an activist, model, and performer who became one of the most prominent figures of the modern queer rights movement. Marsha grew up in the 1940s and 50s America that heavily stigmatized anyone who didn't conform to society's standards of sexuality, so much that being queer was considered a mental illness, and anyone who was even suspected of being so was subject to abuse, police brutality, or even FBI investigations. This affected Marsha on a daily basis. She was constantly harassed by both the general public and police alike, leading her to be arrested over 100 times during her lifetime. Things finally reached their tipping point on June 28, 1969, when police raided a popular New York gay bar, the Stonewall Inn. Details vary, but some argue a frustrated Marsha threw a glass into the mirror and yelled, "I've got my civil rights," these being the first acts of Stonewall uprising. Days of mass protests that saw thousands of people take to the streets for queer rights. As a result, gay rights organizations began to shape across the country, notably the Gay Liberation Front of New York. The very next year, on June 28, 1970, the Gay Liberation Front continued to build on Marsha's momentum and organized the first Pride Parade to further the push for queer rights and recall the events of Stonewall, called Christopher Street Liberation Day. Other events soon followed in other cities across the country. Today, Pride parades are bigger than ever and are celebrated all over the world. Marsha's work didn't end at Stonewall. She and a fellow activist, Sylvia Riviera, founded the STAR organization to help provide housing for homeless queer youth in 1970. STAR operated for 3 years and was the first youth organization in the U.S. to be run by a trans woman of color. Marsha P. Johnson continued to be an outspoken advocate for queer rights until her untimely death on July 6, 1992. The impact of people like Marsha P. Johnson cannot be understated. She had the courage to stand up as herself in a world that refused to see her as herself.
It was myself I was putting down on paper. So I can only think in those terms now. But maybe that's what it was. Maybe. Again, I think of what else would I be doing? Would my life have been a destructive one had I not had this outlet? People accept certain things as being ugly and certain things as being beautiful. And of course they opt for what they call, in quote, the beautiful, and that's in conventional terms, anything that's not that is ugly. And I can't think of anything as being ugly. Ugly, I think, is a character. It's a character thing and not a physical thing.
Jacob Lawrence was one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. He combined his life experience with his love of painting. His painting illustrates everyday life as well as narratives of the African American history, inspired by the shapes and bright colors from his Harlem neighborhood. Jacob was able to bring to life the African American experience through his painting, combined by his unique point of view. Jacob was born on September 17, 1917 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. After his parents migrated from the South, it was his mother who exposed Jacob to painting by enrolling him in several art classes as a child. By 23, Jacob was an established painter who had already completed 5 other major works. By then, most of his work centered around black figures or events in history. In 1941, he finished his best work yet, a collection of 60 paintings called the Migration Series, which told the story of the great migrations of thousands of African Americans from the South to the North after World War I. Jacob created a collection as a single works instead of individual paintings and worked it on all of them at the same time. He then wrote one sentence caption for all 60 paintings, explaining each scene. When viewed together, the collection tells a story, an image and word of the Great Migration. This pushed him into the spotlight in 1931, making him one of the first black mainstream painters of his time. The success of the Migration series allowed Jacob to go on and create many more works throughout the years. From 1971 to 1986, he was an art professor at the University of Washington until he finally retired. Jacob Lawrence continued to use his art to affect social change up until his death in 2000. His legacy lives on throughout the countless artists that have followed in his footsteps, allowing their canvas to tell the stories of Black life throughout their art.
So that just made me keep it on the internet longer and then continue to tell the stories that I felt were authentic until the right network came along, and that was HBO.
Happened to be HBO. No big deal.
HBO. Yes, they've been a great home.
And last but not least, who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody Black. I am. Betting on Black tonight.
Lovely.
Jo Issa Rae Diop, credited professionally as Issa Rae, born January 12, 1985, is an African-American actress, writer, and producer. Issa was born in Los Angeles, California. Her father, Abdoulaye Diop, is a pediatrician and neonatologist from Senegal, and her mother, Delana, is a teacher from Louisiana. She first gained attention for her YouTube web series, Awkward Black Girl. Since 2011, Issa has continued to develop her YouTube channel, which features various short films, web series, and other content created by Black people. Many know her as the co-creator, co-writer, and star of the HBO television series Insecure, which has been nominated for multiple Golden Globe and Primetime Emmy Awards. In 2012, Issa was included on the annual Forbes 30 Under 30 list in the entertainment section. In 2015, she wrote her first memoir titled The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl, which became a New York Times bestseller, along with writing her memoirs in 2015. Rae appeared on the cover of Essence magazine's Game Changers issue alongside Shonda Rhimes, Ava DuVernay, Debbie Allen, and Mara Brock Akil. During her interview, Rae expressed her desire for more people of color working in production behind the scenes to make a lasting impact in the television industry. In 2018, Rae was included in the annual Time 100 list of the most influential people in the world. Rae's movie biography includes feature films with roles in dramas such as The Hate U Give, fantasy comedy Little, romance The Photograph, and romantic comedy The Lovebirds. Her future 2022 endeavors include a voiceover character Jessie Drew in Spider-Woman and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Project Greenlight, a Miramax and HBO 8-episode docuseries that trails a new generation of female filmmakers directing a feature film. Rae will serve as an executive producer and appear in all of the show's episodes, acting as a mentor and providing guidance to the subjects. What else can I say about Rae, so I'll leave you with her biggest viral quote today. This quote happened on the red carpet in the 2017 Emmy Award, also appeared on t-shirts and in the song Sue Me by the rapper Wale. Rae told reporters, "I'm rooting for everybody Black."
Step on a crack, break your mama back, silly games we played as kids. Backbone. Overworked and underpaid just so we could see foods on our plates. Backbone. Minimum wage to clean and scrape, landlords constantly in their face. Backbone. Tucked me in and wrapped me tight, always kissing me goodnight. Backbone. Had to get it on their own, often seen as being grown. Backbone. Often taught me wrong from right, always kept me in her sight. Backbone. Always seemed to make a way, even on her hardest days. Backbone. Society sees her as a zero, but she's always been my hero. Backbone.
Garrett Morgan was an African-American inventor and businessman. Garrett, the son of freed slaves, was born March 4, 1877 in Claysville, Kentucky. Throughout his lifetime, Garrett's inventions opened the door to a level of success that was unheard of for an African-American. Naturally, Garrett was a problem solver, so he would spend hours tinkering with anything to figure out how it worked. There were several traffic lights by the time Garrett Morgan came along, but they all had the same commands: stop and go. This flaw resulted in accidents left and right between drivers because no one could predict when a stop was coming. In 1923, the problem came to a head right before Garrett Morgan's very eyes when he witnessed a horrible car accident between a car and a horse and carriage. The moment had such an effect on him that he set out on fixing the problem himself. He knew there would be less accidents if drivers knew the light was going to change, so Garrett got to work. His design added a third position in command, yield, to warn drivers that a stop was coming and needed to slow down.
So when they were all up in one configuration, all the traffic at an intersection had to stop. Part of the way down could go slow. If they were all the way down, depending on which way it pointed, this line of traffic could go ahead, this one had to wait.
The design was an instant success, so he tried to expand. Garrett had to be creative as he tried to promote his new idea because he lived during a time where it was extremely difficult for African Americans to receive support for their inventions. What Garrett did was genius. He hired a white person to do his presentations as they traveled from place to place promoting his inventions because he knew audiences would not take him seriously if he did them himself. All his work paid off because eventually Garrett was able to sell the rights for his invention to General Electric for $40,000, over $500,000 today. The traffic signals soon caught on and they were everywhere. More improvements were made to get the traffic lights we know today, and we never looked back. Garrett Morgan was an inventor who dedicated his life to solving life's problems. His invention made the roads a much safer place and clearly defined the rules of the road for all.
The 1960s was a crazy time for the city of New York. The population of the city exploded, and as a result, so did the amount of crime. The year was 1966. Marie Van Brittenbrown and her husband Albert had an apartment together, but they both worked unpredictable hours away from home. As a result, Marie was often left home alone while her husband was away, which naturally worried them both. Their neighborhood was getting more dangerous, and police were known to have very long response times. If someone came to the house while her husband was away, Marie wanted the security to know who was at the door no matter where she was in the house. Her solution was to drill 3 peepholes into the front door and attach a camera that could move between all 3. She then installed monitors connected to the cameras around the house, so she could watch the front door from any room. The device had a 2-way microphone that allowed the user from the inside to talk to the visitors on the outside, and a remote control to lock the door from a safe distance. If the outside person was a threat, a panic button could be used to call the police discreetly. Sound familiar? It should. This was the very first home security system. Marie Van Brittenbrown's patent for a closed-circuit security system was approved on December 2, 1969, and 4 days later, the New York Times ran an article raving about the possibilities of this new technology. Marie's invention gave birth to a $1.5 billion home security industry more than 50 years later. The patent filed from her initial invention laid the foundation for every home security system to follow, and has been cited in 32 future patent applications. It's safe to say that we are all a lot safer thanks to the contributions of Marie Van Brittenbrown.
Dr. Charles Drew was an actor and surgeon who was often called the father of blood banks. In 1940, Dr. Drew became the first African American to earn a Doctor of Science in Medicine degree at Columbia University. While there, he completed a thesis called Bank Blood that outlined a method of separating and storing plasma from blood cells, allowing it to be banked. That same year, his research and techniques were put to the test with the start of World War II. Britain asked the American Red Cross to help the war efforts by providing blood for soldiers injured from the war. Dr. Drew's expertise in blood collection and storage led the Red Cross to ask him to set up the country's first blood bank. His techniques provided to save thousands of soldiers throughout the war. Before Dr. Drew, blood transfusions had to be done live with the donor and the person attached to each other. If blood had to be shipped to another location, there were no guarantee it would be even usable when it got there. Dr. Drew's methods made it possible for blood to be collected, stored, and if needed, shipped to another location with no worry of the blood going bad in the process. During World War II, the military was still segregated, so blood from black donors and white donors was required to be collected and stored separately, even though there was no scientific reason for doing this. Dr. Drew heavily opposed his idea and fought for the world to be changed. His request was ignored, so in 1942, Dr. Drew left his position with the Red Cross blood banks and focused his efforts on improving the field of medicine for black doctors and patients until his death in 1950. So the next time you have to give or receive blood, just think of the father of blood banks, Dr. Charles Drew.
Marian Croak is the Vice President of Engineering at Google and former Senior Vice President of Research and Development at AT&T. While at AT&T, she and her team worked on advancing voice-over IP technologies. Marian holds over 200 patents to her name in the fields of voice and data collection. A lot of her work is made possible for us to video conference from home when thousands of schools were closed last year. Many of the things we take for granted today are built on the very work Marian has committed her life to. She is credited for leveraging existing phone networks to allow the public to donate en masse on their cell phones. For example, American Idol uses her technology every season as millions of people vote from our phones for each episode. This even transformed the way charities were able to ask and collect donations. After the 2010 Haiti earthquake, at least $22 million was donated via text using technology built off Marian's work. At Google, Marian is in charge of expanding into new markets as well as extending their coverage into rural areas to ensure everyone can have access to the internet. She also led the charge in deploying Wi-Fi across India's railway systems. This year, Marian Croak will be inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame for all of her contributions in the field of voice and data communications. She will be inducted along with Patricia Bath. Together, they will be the first two Black women to receive the honor of going into the National Inventors Hall of Fame.
Blackness is a title, is a preoccupation, is a commitment. Blacks are to comprehend and in which you are to receive your glory. The conscious shout of all that is white is, it's great to be white. The conscious shout of the slack in black is, it's great to be white. Thus, all that is white has white strength and yours. The word black has geographic power, pulls everybody in. Blacks here, blacks there, blacks wherever they may be. And remember, you blacks, what they told you. Remember your education. One drop maketh a brand new black. Oh, mighty drop. And because you have kindly given us so many more of our people, blackness stretches over the land. The huge, the pungent objective of our prime outride is to comprehend, to salute and to love the fact that we are black, which is our ultimate reality, which is our lone ground from which our meaningful metamorphosis, our prosperous staccato, group or individual can rise. Self-shriveled blacks come from gaunt and marvelous concession. You are our costume and our fundamental bone. All of you. You colored ones, you Negro ones, those of you who proudly cry, I'm half Indian. Those of you who proudly screech, I've got the blood of George Washington in my veins. All of you. You proper blacks, you Negro blacks, you I wish I weren't blacks. You.
Tonight, from the village of Harlem in New York City, the world-famous Apollo Theater, where dreams are born and legends are made, is proud to present It's Showtime at the Apollo! An amateur night with Kiki Shepard, Sandman Sims, Ray Chu and the crew, and the Apollo Dancers. Show is dedicated to the Tree of Hope, an Apollo legend.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Showtime at the Shorewood Apollo. I'm Bria.
And I'm Enzo.
And together we'll be your hosts for tonight. This is the world's famous Apollo Theater, home of the longest running amateur night in the world.
The Apollo Theater opened in 1934 as the first theater to allow black artists to perform. From then on, it has become a pinnacle in black entertainment and music.
From stars like Ellis Fitzgerald, Diana Ross, the Isley Brothers, and even Lauryn Hill all got their starts on the Apollo stage.
Amateur night here works just like you've seen in those other shows. Somebody comes on, they do their act, and the judges decide if they like it or not. The only difference is we don't just have 3 judges, we have 1,300 of them, and they are all in our audience tonight.
So that means if you like something, cheer by booing. If everyone is loud enough, you'll hear this sound. And the Sandman will take things from there.
Yeah, Spider-Man and Freeze in full effect. You ready, Ron? I'm ready. You ready, Dave? I'm ready, Slick. Are you?
That was the Sandman. He'll put the bad acts out of their misery before things get too rough.
And last but not least, this is the Tree of Hope. Every contestant must touch the stump. This is a tradition that goes all the way back to the earliest stage of the Apollo. By forgetting to touch the stump could be the difference between things going your way or taking a turn for the worse.
Now that you know how amateur night at the Apollo Theater works, let's bring out our first act.
Good evening.
Good evening. What is your name?
My name is Mr. Brian Kujawa.
And where are you from?
I'm from the Milwaukee area.
And what are you here to do for us tonight?
I am here to do some magic.
Well, good luck.
All right, thanks very much. So, what an honor to be here again. My name is Brian Kujawa. I am a staff member here at Shorewood High School. I teach the band. And then on the side, I also do magic. And with the theme of this show being live at the Apollo Theater, I really wanted to research and see who are some famous African-American magicians. And I found Eric Jones. So I highly encourage you to check out ericjonesmagic.com and on various social media. He performed this trick, and I was really inspired. So there's a shout out to him. So here we go with the magic. I'm going to move this.
And here is our next act.
What's up, girl?
Hey.
Hey, what's going on? I'm H, and just before we get started, I want to shout out to my little H. She's my wife, H. I'll be home soon, baby.
Okay. What will you be doing for us tonight?
Tonight, I'm going to be doing my rapping act with my rapping bird. This hot dog, say what up? He going to save his voice. He going to save his voice. I ain't ready for this. Huh?
Is he not?
Ooh. Huh?
He not fake.
She don't mean that. She don't mean that. I'm gonna show you how fake he is. Y'all ready for this? Watch this.
And now let's welcome our next act. Hi, what's your names?
I'm Bella.
And I'm Maya.
Where are you from?
I'm from Shorewood.
Me too.
Oh, and what are you doing for us tonight?
We're gonna sing.
Oh, okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Listen, baby. Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
If you need me, call me. No matter where you are, no matter how far.
Don't worry, baby.
Call my name, I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no
Yeah, Spider-Man and freezing full effect. You ready, Ron? I'm ready. You ready, good? I'm ready, Slick. Are you? Oh yeah, take it down.
And here is our next act. Hi, what is your name and where are you from?
My name is Brian Terry Jr., and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
What will you be doing for us tonight?
Tonight I'll be singing Erykah Badu's Time's A-Wastin'.
Sounds great. Good luck.
Thank you. Time's a-wasting. Don't you take your time, young man. Keep on drifting. Ain't no telling where you'll land. Run, baby, run, run. Where you running to, and who you're running from. Some people may not understand what it takes to be a man and taking full command. 'Cause we're living in a world that's oh so strange. Boy, don't let your focus change, taking out the demons in your range. Hey, we're living in a world that's oh so fast. Gotta make your money last. Learn from your past, hey, 'cause time's a-wasted. Don't you take your time, young man. You keep on drifting, and ain't no telling where you'll land. sunshine. If it's all in the air, then it's all on your mind. Breathe, baby, come back to the world. Dig up all your pearls, teach the boys and girls. Hey, we're living in a world that's oh so strange. Boy, don't let your focus change, taking out the demons in your range. Hey, we're living in a world that's oh so fast. Gotta make your money last, learn from your past. Hey, oh baby, we need to smile. Time to waste it. Don't you take your time, young man. Oh, 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 keep on drifting. Ain't no telling where you'll land. Oh, 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 time's a wasted. Don't you take your time, young man. Oh, 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 oh. You keep on drifting, and ain't no telling where you'll land. Cause time's a wasted. Oh, 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 oh. You keep on drifting, and ain't no telling where you'll land. Oh, 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 oh. Thank you.
All right, Bria, can you please bring out tonight's acts? And now Bria here is going to choose the winner of tonight's amateur night via audience applause. So if she's standing next to the act that you like, be sure to clap extra loud. Take it away. I'm sorry, but that's all our time for tonight. Be sure to join us next week for the amateur night at the Shorewood Apollo, where we will announce tonight's winners. Good night.
With seeds in their hair, their mother has planted, parted down their sun-kissed scalps in rows of 5, hidden and braided over, a secret from the motherland to be planted on the other land. With seeds in their hair that has traveled along the parted seas into the transatlantic slave trade, in chain-plank beds in rows of 5, hidden in the bottom of ships, secret bodies stolen by the white man to be brought over to the other land.
The seeds in their hair have grown into cornrows, braided designs mapped out to show the crops of corn rows. Escape routes to the Underground Railroads, freedom in sight just where the river flows.
Yet the people wear in vain our history, a mockery of our pain, blatantly styled ignorance, claiming it as their aesthetic, as ownership of what is not their own. But with the same breath, they turn and tell a little black girl her braids are ghetto. Always ghetto until ghetto becomes high fashion. Ghetto until it walks down your runways, taken from the black, young, and naturally dreaded. African kings and queens and the hard-headed. They covered up walking like European royalty. Ghetto
until their favorite white celebrities claim it's cool. But it's always
black is cool unless you're actually black.
They love what black culture can do for them without loving the black body.
Oh, but they love the black body. Black women as blueprints to their dream bodies. Our features that are once undesirable now mimicked and mirrored.
Our bodies have been used. Our styles, our ebonics, our trends, capitalized and profited until they fulfill their temporary needs. They leave us, discarded, and left to deal with the displacement and revert back to their whiteness. They take the credit.
Never given to where it's due.
You may have worn the cornrows on your head.
But you have not praised the hands that have braided them.
You may have repeated and mimicked our vernacular.
But you have not praised the mouths that have spoken them.
You may try to act
black, but you have not lived the black experience. You can take our crops, but you cannot take our seeds.
You know, Brian, I really enjoyed the show tonight. I really learned a lot. We really did that.
No, for real, because I just love learning about all the things black people have discovered and created.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how our ancestors, set the platform for us so we can continue the plan.
Yeah, and what I hope people really take away from the show is that the time is ours to reclaim our voices and go further.
Yeah, and I like that you use the word reclaim. I feel like that's such a powerful and significant word that is significant in our community.
Definitely. Well, thank you all for joining, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good one.